Welcome to another edition of Grace Under Pressure, where my guest today is Molly Tschang. I will tell you all about her in just a moment. Grace Under Pressure is that show that deals with what's too often dismissed as the soft stuff, the caring, the commitment we exert toward others. But when you act with courage and as a leader, as you will definitely discover that Molly is, you do it to bring people together for common cause and create a better world. Welcome, Molly Tschang.
Thank you, John. What a pleasure to be with you today.
Great. I want to tell folks all about you. You are the founder of Abella Consulting and Say It Skillfully, which just happens to be the title of your brand new book that you co-authored with Marshall Goldsmith. By the way, you have quite a track record. You are an M&A person with expertise in over 80 mergers and acquisitions. Yes, folks, 80, count them up. And you've guided executives through the difficult process of getting organizations who are disparate to work together. So as a result, you've written this wonderful book called Say It Skillfully, which will give some key insights into how to communicate your point of view and listen to others and try to create mutual understanding. Did I get it right, Molly?
Got it. Totally right. Bingo.
Great. So, what you have a background, I think your undergraduate degree is in chemistry, and then you have a business degree. So now you're in the world of human development. So what took you to that, the dark side, shall we say, instead of the high profile side?
Yeah. Well, so this is the thing. I'm a geek. I was a chemical engineer. I studied that in school. And for all the younger people who are out there thinking about what you want to be, I remember wanting to be Jacques Cousteau. I was going to be a marine biologist, like 100%. So I went to the high school at the time in the library, opened up the books and looked at the salaries of the marine biologists and the chemical engineers. And the marine biologists made half of what the chemical engineers made. And my dad is a rocket scientist. He's like super, like brainiac. If I was 10% as smart as my dad, I'd do great. And so I decided to go this chemie route. And people, I have to tell you, John, the fact that I am about to launch this book, launching this book to the world to help people find their voice and learn how and when best to use it is a miracle, because I was so shy, so unskillful. I didn't speak English until I was 5. I was petrified. I remember standing out of the first day of kindergarten, and my mom had dropped me off, and I just remember standing by the window. In my brain, I'm like, I did something so bad that my mom would put me in this room with these people and leave me here for 3 hours. I was literally like super traumatized. Right. People find that really crazy, but I say that because I think many people think of this communication thing as you're sort of born out of the womb with it. And I feel like it's really something that you learn. And it's,
well, you definitely did, because English was your second language, and so you have an interesting perspective. You are the outsider and still are able to call upon that lens. Am I correct?
So yeah, absolutely. I get, being this whole diversity thing. I know this is a word we're not supposed to use, but difference, when you're a kid, kids can be mean, right? There was one Korean, one Black, one Chinese family. That was us. And so I just remember really desperately wanting to fit in. And my parents came from overseas. So God bless them. They had no idea what they were doing, right? So here we are. And we happened to be relatively smart. We did gymnastics. We played violin. So we did all these things that sort of other kids couldn't do, So we sort of felt like no one
gymnastics and violin. Everybody does that, of course, Molly.
So that's kind of how it all started. And I am, really, I'm grateful. I would have been happy in a technical arena. I think that would have been great too. But I ended up going to IBM and changed my life forever, because you started to get into the whole sales program and business and what have you. And that just put me in a whole different trajectory.
Now, to drill down on the book, Say It Skillfully, communication's a field that was my original career too. And so often, and as you say, it's so obvious, Molly, why are we even spending time talking about it? So tell me what's holding us back from being more effective as communicators. So
I love this topic. Is so near and dear to me, because the process of Say It Skillfully happening was just a gift from above. And we have to shout out to Marshall Goldsmith, because we would never even meet without the most amazing, generous Marshall. But that idea of people being at work and everyone's got these conversations and they're tough. We feel like, we might be wrong, so we don't want to speak up. Or I don't want to not fit in, so I don't want to speak up. Or I'm afraid I'm going to offend somebody. And these are real fears. And so it's really important to honor that, especially way back when, there are power dynamics. You could be really bad things could happen. And so I want to normalize for folks that when there are fears, to really be honest about, are they really real? And so I'm not asking anyone to put themselves on the chopping block by speaking up with what you think needs to be said when it's really not going to go well. And that's a judgment call.
Now, toward that end, you have I like this concept of reframing what communication is. Tell us about that, please.
Okay, so this is the thing. Communication is the currency of work. It is how we get things done. And that idea of bringing people together, it's how we create, it's how we interact. So it's so fundamental to collaboration and being productive and all that good stuff. So on the one hand, we use it to get things done, but I would say to folks that at the essence of it, you need to realize your communication is how other people experience you. It is you. And so your ability to find your authentic voice and speak up in a way that's true to yourself really sets you up for success professionally, of course, but also in your personal life. So it's just this most fundamental skill to our success. And what is so crazy to me is we're not really trained in it, whether it's in college or at schools or in companies. We really don't give people a chance to figure out what works for Molly, because what works for Molly doesn't work for John. We might get sales training, negotiation training, presentation training. So I think this idea of people appreciating every word out of your mouth and how you say it is a big reflection of you, much more than your CV and all that. And so I want to help people feel that they can speak up with what needs to be said, because it's the most empowering thing. It's how you contribute. It's how you be you. It's how you add value, right? And at the same time, it's that notion of how do you listen too? It's two sides of the coin. So I think of it in a much more how we're being way, perhaps, than transactional, even though it's fundamental to how we get work done.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here because you opened the door to this. You said that essentially you said one size does not fit all. I communicate differently than you, and you communicate differently than George, and go on down the line. So why bother writing a book about it, Molly?
Yeah. So this is so fabulous, because this is the thing that you want to embrace. Every person out there, you've got a unique background, unique experiences that have really formed and shaped you. You failed in certain ways and picked yourself back up and, recovered. And that's part of your journey. So finding words and ways to speak that works for you is on you. And so you might say, well, how is everyone going to figure that out? I was able to, through the gift of all these folks on my podcast and the videos that I put out. I did this video series, as you know, 6 years ago. And I thought like 10 people would watch this first video, and like 36,000 people watched it. And I had 1.5 million views of these videos, because people do want to speak up, John. They don't want to be a mute. And that framework that I created, the Say It Skillfully simple framework of me, you, we, is a construct that helps people approach conversations in a way that you can really find that you can do it. I mean, people say, wow, it's simpler than I thought. And so this construct, if I can blow it out a little bit, I did this coaching program, as I shared with you, with this organization and relationship systems coaching, ORSC. And so this notion of the word relationship, because relationships underpin the highest performance, I'll unpack it for 3 levels. One is this emotional intelligence. What's going on for you? Can we articulate what's going on for ourselves? And you might be super angry, legit, but is showing up angry going to be useful, right? Letting go of negative emotions is so critical to best serve the work. And that sets up the next phase, which is this social intelligence, which is my ability to identify and really understand your emotional experience, which is key to connection, right? And only if we connect can we possibly influence and have a shot at leading people. So connection is that second phase. And then the third part is this relationship systems, intelligent. So everyone's on this, little LinkedIn Live together, but we're having a different experience of it. And so that ability to empathetically understand what it's like for each other, to walk in each other's shoes, is fundamental to collaboration, powerful group identity, and sustaining success. And
Great.
that's the me and the you and the we.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that, but you answered the question before I could do it. But let me drill down on here just a bit. I want to take each aspect if I could. So, if I know I need to work on my communications, that's the me part. What's something I should know before I begin, Molly?
Yeah. So the
So,
me part is about just understanding what's going on for me. I have a big conversation with my boss. So you're all worried about the topic of the boss. My first question would be, how do you feel about it? And people are like, what? I'm like, do you feel angst? Are you worried? And I don't want to make any of it wrong. It's really important to get grounded in what's going on for me, because number one success factor to teeing up successful conversations is how you show up, the energy that you have. So if I had a person on my radio show, it was so fascinating because she was like, my boss, I don't think my boss is supporting me, and I want to get promoted. And as we went through it, she had this epiphany. She's like, I'm not showing up confident to my boss. And so the point is it the boss's job to perceive that you're confident? We have to show up. And so to show up open-hearted, to show up that you want to give feedback, not to make the person wrong, but to help them grow. What an opportunity. So that's the me part, is really understanding what's my intention? What do I want to have happen in this conversation? And then how do I show up to best serve that work to be done before I say a single word? And then I think the other thing is, the vulnerability piece, John, when there might be a mistake or something's not quite right. If you just think maybe there was 2% that somehow I contributed, someone didn't do the work right, maybe I wasn't as crystal clear. So that's the me part. And when you can show up with a sense that, hey, maybe part of it's on me, that invites the other person to not feel like they're on their heels and you're accusing them of being wrong.
wonderful. I like that. Now, if there's an issue, own it. Don't make excuses. Now, the next part is the you, which I think if I can speculate, I think it is the most overlooked aspect of communication, because I got my message, Molly. So shut up and listen. So don't we need to do a little prep work or homework before I go into a meeting with my boss, Molly? So
You totally have it. I just want to say that 80% of effective communication is the me. It is about getting grounded in ourselves, because we have to get out of our own way before we can even think about the other person. So that other person, people, I remember this person came about, they were complaining, I don't have a job career, I don't know my career path. And at one point they had this epiphany. Oh my goodness, my boss doesn't know. They were able to actually take themselves out of their experience and put themselves in their boss's shoes to understand that, what, the boss wasn't trying to be annoying or not want to support this person. They really didn't know. And so that ability to work with emotions as well is something that I think a lot of folks feel a little bit uncomfortable. If someone feels a little out of sorts, sometimes we just want to dive into the work, when in fact the next question might be, hey, before we get into the project, you seem like you're not your normal self. Are you okay? How are you doing? And so that ability to really unpack that and help a person feel like you're meeting them where they are is really important. And so that's the you component.
now we got the me, we got the you. Now let's go to the big picture, the macro. So how do I communicate more broadly or more understandably so more people understand me? What's the element of that relationship you talked to?
Yeah. So this relationship is the we is like, who are we together? And what serves the greater good? And so in organizations, I use this example all the time. There's always wanting headcount. End of the year, headcount scramble. Everyone wants more headcount. And let's just say the marketing team does a better pitch, it's slicker, so they get the headcount. But if you had what I call an accurate shared reality, which we'll come back to that, the organization would have been better off if we put more people in engineering. So marketing has won the battle, but the company has lost the war. So really understanding what best serves the whole, the greater good, is essential to being able to do what best serves the organization. So I mentioned this word shared reality. The number one thing I see missing in organizations all over the world of any size or shape doing anything is this shared reality, which is being on the same page, not just about the objective facts, but also about the emotional state, where people are, and how are they feeling. And that is those two prongs. Getting people on the same page is so essential because you cannot make the best decisions, execute with speed, and achieve your greatest outcomes if you don't have an accurate shared reality. And so this
Now,
we is everybody speaking up, right, John? That's the we, is
right.
everybody speaking up.
I think you are uniquely positioned to address this. And from what I know of your background, is having spent so much of your career working in mergers and acquisitions, which are two different entities coming together and not always in a happy place. So there are completely two different realities to begin with that can quickly become 100 different realities. So how do we guard against that, Molly?
Well, so this is this notion of everyone's voice people realizing that we need to be heard with relevant information. Okay, let me just caveat. This is not about people yammering on about whatever thing they think they want to talk about. It has to be about serving the whole. We may have different ideas of what that is, but that ability to say, hey, I'm not sure if this is right. Let me put this out there so that we all consider all the angles. And that ability to really be about the whole is defensible. The minute we start coming up because I want to protect my turf and John wants to protect, people tell. So transparency is our friend. And this notion of the we is how do we make sure that people speak up? And sometimes with that tough news, the tough feedback, the bad news, or whatever you don't think the other person wants to hear, so you hold back. But if you don't bubble up the disconnects, John, we can't hash them out. Someone might think the customer's super happy. This person thinks the customer's not happy. They're very unhappy. If we're not aligned on whether the customer's happy or unhappy, it's not going to go well. So that I want to make sure that people don't actually think it's only the leader's job. It's on all of us. I think leaders have an outsized role, obviously, but they're human and they have blind spots. So not every leader is self-aware as we might like. And so people love to complain about that. And so I'll ask about it and they'll say, well, I'm like, did you say anything? And they're like, no, I didn't say anything. I'm thinking, well, if you were doing something that wasn't serving the group, wouldn't you want to know? And people pause. And people then are like, well, I said, yes, you're not a bad person. But if you hold back what you think needs to be said, you're part of the problem. You're perpetuating the disconnect. When in fact, I really want to really encourage everyone to be part of the solution so you can actually be more you in the spirit of serving the greater good.
I want to drill down on that greater good because it's a favorite phrase of mine and I don't hear it often enough. So thank you for saying it. But so if I'm a boss or, or just an interested party in this, so how do we, and you mentioned people yammering and clutter, and it's the clutter that messes things up. My agenda, your agenda, but my agenda, of course, is far more important than yours. So how do we get through the greater good? How do we position the greater good as what matters? What's your insight, Molly?
Well, I think for leaders, and let us do a great shout out to Alan Mulally, like one of the most amazing CEOs and mentor of mine. So that notion of what serves the whole, it's on the vision, like what being very clear, like why are we here? What success look like? And ensuring that everyone understands the plan to get there. I mean, Alan is so great because a lot of companies have these different plans. There's a plan for Wall Street and there's a plan for marketing. He's like, there's one plan. And by the way, everybody knows the plan and everybody knows how we're doing, which seems like so duh. However, when you get to the state where people they're kind of maybe thinking about their own turf, which is understandable, right? So the senior most leaders have to create this environment of saying, we're really here to help everybody rise. And the best way for everyone to do well is if the organization does well. And so I do think that there are trade-offs and the ability for leaders to skillfully help honor, hey, I totally appreciate customer service took the hit. We had a real bad situation with a customer bug and you guys went the distance and love them up, as Alan would say. So the transparency is our friend thing I want to offer for people. People say, well, should I say it? I'm like, I call that in the bubble. If it's in the bubble, and you think it could help, this is an opportunity to put it out there. So part of the Say It Skillfully resources is helping people do that in a way where they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to look stupid, or, I'd be pummeled for being wrong, or I'll offend somebody. Because if you really want to try to help serve the greater good, that's going to go well, folks. And I want folks to realize that that's why you're paid, whether you pay the big bucks or not, that's why you're there, right? To help bring everyone together and do our best work.
That's good. And a wonderful example from Alan. He's taught me so much and been very kind and generous to me as well. But I think but it's a person like it takes a leader to make it safe to voice your ideas. Because if you don't have, because I've heard you speak on this, if you have a leader who is transactional or me first,
Mhm.
whatever, is not going to work. So what's your perspective on that, Molly? So,
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this up. And this is a reality. Okay. I would say my experience is the vast majority of leaders want to do the right thing. They do not wake up out of bed, I'm going to make it so annoying for my people that they don't tell me what I need to hear. They really don't. Okay. So be honest. If you're kind of imposing this view of yours that this leader doesn't want to hear it, you got to think twice. If your leader isn't open to hearing different opinions, considering that their truth might not be right, if they really aren't open to that, the question is, why are you there? And I mean that really truthfully, John. Yes, some people maybe really can't find a way to get another job, but you are in charge of you and finding a place that deserves you, that you can contribute in a way that's meaningful to you. So that's my big message for folks on that. If it's super toxic or what have you, I mean, I get it that this happens. You're staying and perpetuating and supporting potentially a toxic environment. So you got to be whole with that. And that for
no,
me is something
that's a really good
that's
idea.
really.
But as you were speaking, I was thinking of something. We were talking about the CEO level. That's one thing. But sometimes we may not be doing our boss a favor. And you initiated this before, because we may not understand where they are coming from. And so they have fears as well. So I liked how you said initially, how's it going for you? So be more patient. What advice do you have on that, Molly? So your boss isn't cruel, but is acting out of a reacting rather than acting. What's your philosophy on that, Molly?
So I
So
think that this is developing that relationship. And I think sometimes folks rely on the more senior person to make the relationship. We all have the chance to extend the olive branch to folks. And to be able to say, hey, you've been an amazing leader. I see you're doing great work. I learned a lot from you. You build rapport with people over time. And I've said this to folks I don't know super well. And I said, I haven't worked with you and I don't know you super well, but I'm observing something that might not be what you are taking away. Are you open to my sharing it? Because I think it could help. If you come at it in this way of helpfulness, not like you, blah, 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 people are like, yeah. What are you seeing? I'm noticing this. I think that you'd want to do this, X, Y, and Z, but I don't know that other people are seeing that. And so you need to realize people kind of we see things a certain way. I have a reality and I think it's right. That's why I have it. And so it takes other people saying, hey, I understand that's your view, your reality. Here's what's going on, I think, for other people. So we need to help each other inform an accurate shared reality so that collectively we can make the best decisions.
I might put in a plug and say we need to show one another a bit of grace, so uh, so to make it work. So, Molly, we are racing along in the show. We can keep on going, but I ask every guest a question about grace. So, do you have a story about grace that you can share with us? So.
I do. I appreciate the heads up. And I have two. So one is personal about me. And I have these blessed parents who are now almost 91 and 88. And so I moved them out of their home of 56 years. Very traumatic. It's fine. It's all went well. But at one point, I just got really hard. And I was just, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I marched into the back room of the house. I slammed the door and I read myself the riot. I said, Molly, you are one of the luckiest, most blessed people on the planet. Frickin' start acting like it. I mean, I literally read myself the riot. I said, you freaking get it together now. And I just exhaled and I inhaled. I mean, I had really had to confront that I was not being who I really think I am. I was really harsh, right? And so that was a huge moment of just a personal, like, and then I thought about it. It actually happened like this morning. I was up early and I have this darling niece. And when she was younger, she was 4 years old. She's in my apartment in Manhattan. She came over and she's like, Auntie Molly, I spilled water on the ground. And so I said, oh, thank you for letting me know, love. And you know what? Now we can go clean it up. And imagine had I said, oh no, how did you do that? Or, what I'm saying? Like, it's just like a silly thing. But that signaled, that gave her courage to be like, oh, I can say whatever. And I'm thanked. And now we're just going to go fix it, which is exactly what we want to have, decades later when we're old and in business to happen. So I think my little niece was a great example, of putting it out there. And I felt like I actually responded in a way to support that.
Absolutely. That's two beautiful stories. And I can't help but interject when you said what you related to your niece. Now let's go together and fix it. That's Al Mulally. That's his whole approach. We have a problem. We're going to do it together, aren't we, Molly? And we're going to bring John into it. We're going to bring Marshall into it. We're all going to work together and solve this problem. That is saying it skillfully, may I say so. So
yes, thank you very much for that. It's a real gift. And, I really have just great passion for this. And, the book, I hope, really empowers people. I'm hoping it's a real game-changing guide for folks to be able to express themselves skillfully and then create environments where everyone can feel valued, they can feel heard, and perform at our very best. I mean, that's kind of why we go to work.
yeah, and I think it's more than a book. Obviously, it's a book, but you've got some wonderful exercises, calls to action. It's also available in an audio. So tell us that part. There's some things to do and extra parts of the book that I want you to talk about, Molly.
Yeah,
So
so this is the thing, folks. I have all these videos. So I encourage folks to hop on and just look at the videos because you can start to see how it works. And it's like tennis, because we were talking about tennis. You can watch Roger Federer hit a forehand all day, but until you get on the court, it's never going to become yours. And so that idea of putting it into practice, there's exercises in there. There's things that you can talk to yourself. If you don't record yourself and listen to yourself, it's hard to really build the skill. It's a new muscle. It may feel a little weird. I want to normalize that for folks. You were part of a role play we did with a bunch of very seasoned professionals, and it's edgy. People are like, oh my God, do I have to really do this? And I'm like, yeah, you got to do it. You got to practice and put it out into action. And the more one does that, I mean, part of this creating connection, you can be at the drugstore in line and you strike up a conversation with the person in front. I mean, there's a million ways that you can practice in your day-to-day because it is a skill and it takes practice to get adept at it.
I'm totally, as a dedicated tennis player that you are, practice, practice, practice. And as you know, my passion is golf, and I practice a lot, but sometimes I don't see any results. Not sometimes, often, too often. But no, seriously, you have to put these, and that's the beauty of your book. It's there. It's not. You're not going to master it right away, but if you pay attention and make a commitment, good things will happen, right? So,
Absolutely. I absolutely believe that. You put it out there. And this is we're all in it together. And I really want people to encourage. I mean, this is a big thing. We're all part of the problem. We're all part of the solution. We're launching the May 20th is a formal date. So appreciate people pre-ordering, ordering when it's out and spreading the word. I mean, what everyone does is, oh, over there, they don't get it. And if everyone has a chance to dive into the content, I'll tell you tomorrow at work, it's better, John, 100%. So I'm really, really joyous about the chance to help people really be themselves and speak up the way they feel good about and make work in our lives a lot better.
great. Molly, how can people find you? So,
yes, sayitskillfully.com is our website. The book page is out. You can hit book on the tab. I want to also offer the there's a free videos. You can go in and look at those on YouTube as well. And I've got a Say It Skillfully 101 program, which really is an online course that I developed to really help people build the skills. And I offer that in a whole bunch of different flavors. So I'm here to help people equip you to what I think is your most life-changing skill. So I appreciate folks listening, and I appreciate the courage that it takes, and the opportunity and the grace, John, that you've shown for letting me join you on your show.
It's been my honor, and you show me the grace by coming on. So with that, we will be out.